Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tim Hart, branch manager of Van Dyke Mortgage here in Fort Myers. Welcome to an episode of the Heartbeat for Realtors podcast. Got with me a friend of mine today, Jeff Tumbarello, director of Southwest Florida REIA and broker owner of Steel Bridge Realty. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Tim?
Good, buddy. Good. Thanks for being with us, man. Appreciate you as always. Hey, we got you on. You got some stats and stuff rolling around out there. For those of the people in our industry who don't know Jeff, Jeff, forgive me if I kind of like maybe say what you're known for, and you are definitely known for stats, market projections, where we're going, where we've been, that sort of thing. Is that fair to say, buddy?
I think I've somehow wandered into that. Yes.
And your good looks.
Yes.
Let's not forget that.
I'll describe myself as a wandering surf with an above average calculator. And, it was, got really deep into it in 06, 07 when we were trying to, like everybody else, figure out what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I can remember running some poly trend lines in Microsoft Excel. And I went to a REIA meeting and I was pretty wrong. And we talked about the market and it said, I think we're going back to 03 pricing. We actually went back to 01 pricing for the most part. So the irony was about 20% of the group was like never wanting to come to a meeting again. Everything's negative. And it turned out to be 100% right. Yeah. And then we called the bottom pretty well and then called the turnaround pretty well too. I can remember, the coolest thing if you were in town in the last cycle. It was in 05, they would stand in line and fight each other to buy that $330,000 North Cape house that rented for $1,500 a month. And then in 2008, when the same house could be bought for $50,000 and rented for $750, they wouldn't touch it. And that was probably as I'm all math. Everything I do is math. The joke is I decide when I'm eating for breakfast based off my spreadsheet. And you got to amortize out how much the eggs are right now and stuff like that. But when you really looked at the market, it made the most sense, and the herd didn't want anything to do with it, which is kind of why, because I do the same thing. I mean, we're all emotional things. And so math will save you as opposed to going with your gut. I mean, your gut will save you some too, but your gut and math tend to save you almost every time.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those people were probably also broke in 08. So
everybody for the most part was broke in 08.
Hey man, I'm raising my hand right here for people listening to it on audio. That was brutal. And the scars run deep, man. Right? I mean, dude, you go through that one time, it changes your outlook on a lot of different things. And this, where we're at currently in this cycle, I remind myself all the time of make hay when the sun is shining, because this is our time to take advantage of what I consider a great market, man, and a great time in our business. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's and here's the thing though, it's definitely not the last cycle. We don't have the same leverage. I was in the mortgage in the last cycle, and I can remember by mid 04, I would just like laugh when the account rep would leave at what they were willing to buy this time now. Mm-hmm. And it just got to the point where I was waiting for the stated credit score loans to come in. You identify as an 850 credit score, so they gave it to you. That's about the only thing we couldn't say, credit score. And
I've been in business that long, and I've never heard that joke or came up with it.
That's the only thing that you weren't able to say was the credit score.
And great joke.
And you remember, like, when the subprime first came out, it wasn't bad. It was interesting. I mean, there was, but most of them were 20% down loans. The interest rate was higher. You kind of got the gist of where it was, and then everything turned, and it got so big on the securitizations that everything went nuts. By mid 04, everything changed. Like the lot game in town was when Fifth Third came out with that 100% W-2 lot loan.
Yeah, lot loan. I remember that.
Is when everything doubled overnight. Because me and another investor at the REIA, we had flipped the Lehigh lot and we put it in a land trust to facilitate the flipping. And we got it for 9. I think we sold it for 16. We were high-fiving. We were brilliant. And like a year later at the REIA meeting, it's floating around at 40.
Right.
Talk about humbling.
Final buyer was like 75,000.
No, I don't know what happened to our trust. I mean, I got to where I felt like I should have got the papers back when it all died, just for, feelings and stuff. But it's, the leverage of the last cycle versus this cycle is significantly different. Mm-hmm. The beauty of Dodd-Frank is we have stayed, for the most part, in a full doc world. I get a lot of emails about stated income loans, but I really don't know anybody that's gotten one.
It's closing, yeah. Yeah, we can, so I think you and I could probably jam on that season of our life for a while here.
I call that the blue sushi era, because we all could have, everybody could eat blue sushi every day for lunch. It was wonderful times.
Most of us did. That's funny, man. But we want to get into the discussion I want to have with you is about 2020 and what we need to know about 2020 in our industry. And so I know you pumped out a video, I think it was last week, with maybe the week before, from your REIA company. And so I thought it'd be really cool to kind of, get down in the weeds a little bit, let you, discuss what you put out with that video, and hopefully some people can get some takeaways for it and have a good positive outlook over the next few months at least.
Number one thing, everything is demographics. How we kind of called the bottom and the growth was demographics, focusing primarily on the baby boomers, because we are a retiree driven area. And 62 years of age is probably the best age to track if you're tracking retirees, particularly like 55 and up stuff. And what was interesting was we crashed in 5, 6, 7. And I'm just giving this as an example of why demographics matter. We crashed in 5, 6, 7. And you go back 62 years, it was 43, 44, 45. It was the height of World War II. Most of the men were overseas. The young men were overseas, and there just weren't as many babies born, between the fact that a lot of the guys weren't here, and then the economy was a little focused on other things, and people were scared. So 62 years later, in the midst of a housing mania, the retirees blow up first, which was Florida, Arizona, and Nevada. So what's interesting then is in March of 2008, our sales counts begin to turn up year over year for the first time. When you go back 62 years, that's the beginning of the baby boom. And we've had a little up and down motion through this cycle. And for the most part, it looks at that. It reflects that, because our base driver up here is retirees, no matter what. But we have a really neat modality coming in now. Now you have 40% of the consumers in America are Gen Z, which is the younger kids. And we're actually selling, I don't know if you guys are doing mortgages to them yet, we're selling homes left and right to 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds. And while the millennials have been kind of termed late bloomer generation, Gen Z appears to be an early bloomer generation. They're really getting at it quick. And I think because the millennials, they're jaded because they grew up through that crash as kids. Gen Z's never seen anything like that. So, they're much more optimistic, kind of much more bullish. But last December, you had the post-election hangover, and then the stock market went nuts and scared everybody. And you ended up with, we were down December to May, basically, year over year, because you always want to watch year over year in anywhere, but particularly Southwest Florida, because we are a seasonal and a cyclical market, but two things influence. So month over month, if you look at every January on the planet that we have data for here, always will have a lower sales counts than December. Okay, and then February is always higher than January, and that's the cyclical part, and it's actually the seasonal part of this. But when we had December through May down, it was a bad season, and I think it just, you had some crappy weather, you had just a lot of reasons. And then all of a sudden in May, everything took off like a rocket again. So I was really waiting to see what this December and January did over the last one. And now I dumped this data February the 4th. So like the Realtor Association will not even, they don't even put out numbers till after the 15th, because my joke is, you have some stuff that takes 5 days to fund. I'm sure none of your loans have ever done that, Tim, but there are some loans out there. Never happened. I'm sure there's some loans out there that take, 4, 5, 6 days. Somebody doesn't sign a paper. There's always those reasons. And then my joke is the realtors had a good closing, so, they go hit rum runners, and about 4 days later hit the office and close it out. And so you really want to wait till about the 15th. And why I'm going through this is to say the numbers are going to get better for this. But as of February the 4th, and we were up in volume for those 2 months year over year, 35%. We were up in sales counts, 28%. The average price was only up 5%. Now, what's awesome is the average price really gives you more of an indication of what the upper end of the market's doing. And then the median was up 3.9%.
What's the average price right now?
Average price for that period, those 2 months, was $317,197. The median price was $239. So, and the median was really more of an indication of what the bottom's doing. Now, what really got me when I looked at this jump in volume, our cash sales percentage was 40.09%, which was down slightly. The previous period was 41. Mm-hmm. So we had an amazing amount of growth. And bear in mind, we're going against rough numbers, but we blew it away. We had an amazing amount of growth, and the cash sales percentage stayed the same. And that kind of tells me this is real quality growth. So it was really impressive. And then when I ran the predominant largest part of the market is new construction homes. So, which is impressive too. But then we reached a point where, in our minds, guys, like people like me and you, we still see that 5, 6, and 7 as a new home, because you remember forever that was a new home.
Absolutely. That was always pretty funny, man. When you get an app and you're like, oh man, this house is built in 08. This insurance will be cheap. And meanwhile, it's like 2014, we still think that's a new house.
Yeah, well, now some of them houses are needing roofs and all the ACs are going bad. No, it's true.
Yeah.
And so, and in today's world, I mean, what kind of rates, if I'm an FHA buyer, what kind of rate am I looking at if I call you and apply for a mortgage?
I mean, at least mid threes.
Okay. So when you're borrowing at 3.5%, and you're a 24-year-old that's tired of your landlord not telling you what color you can paint the living room, yep. If you borrow $15,000 more at 3.5%, you got a brand new house.
Yep.
And I really think that's what's driving this is we have a lot of property managers that come to the Southwest Florida REIA meetings, and we have a mastermind session at the beginning of the meeting where we just talk about what's going on. People share what they're doing and what they got going on. And for the most part, the tenants that are being lost are buying houses, and most of them are buying new houses. Like if for $15,000 more at 3.5%, how much more of a payment is it?
Yeah, I mean, like what, $20?
Why wouldn't you have a brand new house with a brand new roof and a brand new HVAC system?
Yeah, and the other, I don't know how true this one is. I don't know if you know it or not, but I had been hearing that one of the main reasons given of why the younger generation is buying houses is for their dogs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's so you know about that stat.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, man. They're looking for, because, you got to go to rent, man. They, certain, no pets allowed, whatever. So like they're actually love their animals so much they're buying houses for them.
Well, interesting is they're homebodies. I mean, for the most part, when I was 23 years old, you had to chase me down out in town somewhere to find me.
Yeah.
And and that generally at 2:00 in the morning, and most of them were, they're at home. They're actually so much more responsible than at least I was at that age. Not that that's a very high bar to work against.
Let's hope.
When I got out of the Marine Corps, I had a really good time.
Funny. Dude, so that new construction thing, It's for me, it's always good and bad because you mentioned it a little bit with, we look back on the boom that we had right mid 2000s, and it was fueled by so much, all the empty houses in our area during those, 08, 09, 2010. They were all empty new construction houses, along with like other, dilapidated properties as well.
Mhm.
But you always in the back of your mind, you're like, uh-oh, is it coming again? Like, is it happening? And I know from my point of view on this one, real quick before you get into that, is loan wise. If it happens again, and then because your mortgage boys over here, student loan debt, yeah, you're gonna be on the hook. Car loans, they're coming for you, not the mortgage guys. If it happens again, but what's your thoughts on that, man? How do you handle that with the psychology of it for us that went through those crappy?
Show them the permit levels in 05 versus today.
Do I know them? I'm sorry.
Yeah, should just I don't have it handy, but I've got a spreadsheet that of course I do, but I have a spreadsheet of all the permit levels from I think 02 forward, and I usually just pay attention more to the Cape because the Cape's a great bellwether for new construction. But when you show them the permit levels then versus today, it's pretty apparent it's not 05.
Right.
So one thing, an old timer that honestly, this guy's been wrong more than right. He's always trying to give me unsolicited advice, and if I'd have followed it, I think I'd be on my 5th bankruptcy by now. But but he did say one thing over a cup of coffee that was brilliant in 07. He goes, "We've had these corrections." He's been around town for a long time. He goes, "And we've had these corrections, but this is the first time we've ever built 20,000 houses for the heck of it." And that was really
for the heck of it.
Yeah, and that's how he said it was. And I'm like, man, that's honestly, I shut my mortgage between him and another guy I had coffee with. I shut my mortgage company down mid 07, and I'd been thinking in my mind, I'm paying these people to drink coffee with me, and we're playing a lot of solitaire, but there wasn't a lot of loans happening. I'm sure you remember those days. Yep. And by the end of those 2 conversations, I shut my mortgage company down. I'm like, there's no use paying people to drink coffee with me. I can go to the Starbucks and save money.
Mm-hmm. What a cool go buy everybody's coffee. Because that's dead on right, man. Like building these houses for the heck of it. We had, God, we're gonna get off track about 2020 again, but I remember having like a bus driver come in, and like trying to build a, investment property. And then you find out that same bus driver went to 3 or 4 other banks at the same time and got, tried getting the same loan from them and doing 4 and 5 houses at a time and crazy stuff, man.
Well, that's where technology's come along too as a bit of a dampener, because now we know. I can remember having a wholesale lender call me up and go, "I just got the same loan package from XYZ Mortgage like 10 blocks away from you. Who's actually doing the mortgage for this guy?" Right. Where they had went through and gotten appraisals and everything, separate everything, thought they were going to take out 2 loans on it.
Yep.
So in today's world, that gets caught.
Yeah, no doubt. With tech, and the other thing is, public records, how the growth of that online has just continued to grow, which LIPA, Ken Wilkinson, shout out to him, leads the way, our county website.
Yeah, Ken's done an amazing job. When you look at doing business in Lee County, Florida, between the Lee Clerk site, Charlie Green got it going. Linda Doggett's done an amazing job of taking it the next steps. And between public records and the property appraiser site, this is probably one of the easiest counties that I know of to do business in, because there's so much free information that you can just download.
Yeah. But the point I was going to get to with tech and with mortgages is, dude, we know everything. I mean, we had a person about 3 months ago. We had to go and say, "Well, hey, Jeff, what about this? Can you explain this piece of property in Oregon?" The guy's like, "What?" Like, no clue what we're even talking about. It took him like 5 days to remember that, like, it was a piece of land that his granddaddy had like willed him like 20 years ago, and he didn't even know he owned it. And
really?
Yeah. And then we got to address it. Well, we got to get a tax bill for it, whatever. But nothing is hidden anymore, I guess, is the point. So if you're watching this and think about applying for a mortgage, tell your lender what's going on so they can help you work around it. Don't try to hide anything.
I used to love that when I was in that business. I'm like, I'd have to talk. Look, I'm Johnny Cochran. I got to know whether you did it or not. So I need to know everything here because we're going to figure it out eventually. The judge, who's the underwriter, is going to start asking some tough questions at some point. So you better let me know what we're really doing here.
I really want to know what your tagline was after Johnny Cochran. I mean, did you find a way, if it don't fit, it must have quit?
No.
Find a way to tie it into mortgages? No?
No.
All right. Boo.
No, but let me know when we come up with that stated credit score loan. We're going to get rich.
Right. Well, cool, man. What else you got about 2020 coming up?
Well, we're starting season. We're in peak season right now as we're doing this video. I mean, really, I always say February the 15th is kind of the day that it really kicks off, but it's aggressive out there right now. And we're under 5 months inventory. So you don't have a lot of inventory. Even the new construction, for the most part, they're going pretty quick. I mean, it's not there's guys speccing houses now. There's investors speccing houses and making money. And there was always room for that in the market. What there wasn't room for was like $1,000 a month, which is what it kind of got to. And then more importantly, when they went on the road, but inventory's low. The cash percentage is still great at 40%. I believe the state of Florida might be 20, 25. I mean, so when you're looking at it, it's definitely not 05. And I'll have to do a video talking about the difference in the permit numbers. When you put it on a chart it's not even close. It's not even in the same stratosphere.
Okay. I would not have guessed that. I thought I'd been a little close, but.
Well, but how do you say this? You ever heard the story of the Thanksgiving Day turkey?
Probably. Hit me.
Okay. This is a great story. You have the Thanksgiving Day turkey every day. The farmer shows up, throws a little corn in the pen. Thanksgiving Day turkey feels the farmer's awesome until that Monday before Thanksgiving. Now, here's the problem. All the turkeys that survived that Thanksgiving, but seen what happened, every time they see corn, they freak out now. So for the most part, if you survive the last cycle, everybody always really imprints hard on that last cycle. Yep. And so that's all they're seeing. And what the next correction will probably look like would be the 01 correction we had, which kind of led to, had a bit of a hit. Next thing you know, the market turns up and everybody felt we're invincible. And that kind of everything played into the 05, 06. But when you're focused on the last correction, we never repeat. I mean, because cycles always vary in intensity and duration. Mm-hmm. This one is a lot longer of a cycle. I mean, you look at, the last cycle, the upside was 2002 to 2005. You had a 4-year upside and what a 4-year downside.
Yeah.
And now
forever.
This may turn into, if it was, if the pendulum goes exactly on the same duration, it'll just be a slow, boring, nasty correction with everybody going crazy waiting for the $50,000 houses that'll never happen again. At least not until basically when the stated income, stated assets are the primary loan done, go to cash and wait. It's going to happen again.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, one thing we've been seeing more of is appraisal waivers coming up through mainly Freddie Mac. And what's happening is they're super strong loans, high credit, low debt to income ratio, low loan to value, primary residence stuff. And the way data is available to these companies, you pop in an address and they can boom in 3 seconds, they know hey, high risk, not whatever. And they're waiving appraisals, saving borrowers $500. But they have the data behind it, online to be able to justify it,
Yeah, no, it's, I honestly think at some point it's just going to be, hey, I want to borrow money. They run 3 things and you close tomorrow for refis for the most part. You know what I mean? It's not, there's
Don't
some
depress me over here, bro. Don't depress me.
Why? If you're the guy with that platform, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
Why not? Just be, this is Tim Hart we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Hey, man, dude, I appreciate it. Jeff, you got anything else you want to throw in?
No, that was just, really great metrics. And on top of that, very measured growth. I mean, the price didn't go crazy. The cash percentage didn't go, change much. Really just growth for the sake of growth. And everybody around here, we're so abused from that last cycle that most people in the market can't accept good news. They're just not capable of it after, I guess, something so bad happened here that they really can't process it.
It's like
And this was
really
really
the spurned lover that
yeah.
never will love again.
Yeah, this was really, really great positive news. Not saying this couldn't morph into late 05 again, which, it can. I'm not seeing that at this point. But right now we've got steady, strong growth. And as long as the price doesn't go crazy, because one thing that really marked the last cycle, in 04, you had almost a 30% jump in average price in almost like a 4 or 5 month period. And you can look at the point where they're like, man, I'd rather have that $800,000 house than that $400,000 house, and you can give me the loan, Tim. So let's do this.
Right.
And that was you look. There was a specific point in 04 where we went from a boom to a mania, 100%. Because what we went through last time started out as a boom, which is kind of what we're in right now, and then turned into a mania. And that's really what you want to take from it. Definitely need to be watching for the signs of mania. Every day I'm watching. I mean, and you can do the anecdotal stuff, and everybody, like I've got, you've got the bulls and the bears in the stock market, and they're that way in real estate too. I had people pitching me in late 07 how everything was perfect and you should buy all this stuff. And then there's people pitching in 2009 that the world's coming to an end. We're never going to recover. You ain't seen nothing yet. And see the pricing had come up. So there's perma bulls and perma bears too. And don't listen to either one of them, because they've got such a bias that it's almost like politics with them, that they're just never going to see the light. They just have a viewpoint, and they seek out with confirmation bias things to just confirm their beliefs, because they, God forbid, change them or just adapt. Because, there's bulls and there's bears and there's traders and in the stock market, and the traders realistically just work the market. And if there's one take to take from this, I would say, like you said, make hay. There's a lot of hay out there, and be an intelligent trader about this, because all real estate markets are as a pendulum. It swings from pessimism to optimism. And generally when people are optimistic is the time to get pessimistic. That doesn't mean shut your business down, though. The guy who wrote that was steadily trading in optimism. He just bought more when it was pessimistic.
Well, I mean, you're supposed to, once you have, what's that old saying about the barber? Like when your barber is giving you the stock tips, it's time to sell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, that was fun, man. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm going to put that, that video you did, I'll put it on in the comment section or the body of the post for you. Where can they connect with you, Jeff, if they want to learn more about you?
Well, for the Investment Association, go to SWFLREIA.com. We've been meeting since November of 03. Believe it or not, I feel really old when I had some hair when we began meeting. And then I also have a company called Steelbridge Realty. We're always looking for quality people to work with. And honestly, if you got a question, call me on my cell, 239-671-8248. If you see something different that I'm missing, man, I want to know, because I'm out here doing this with my money too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, dude. And all of you guys watching, don't forget, I do mortgages for a living. You need a borrower out there underwritten before you take him out to show them property. I'm here to help with you, okay? You can walk around with an underwritten, approved buyer, almost as good as cash. Almost there.
Well, as a broker, let me tell you, if you're an agent and you have an unqualified buyer showing them houses, you need to haze yourself. You are wasting your time. Call Tim. Tim will let you know whether they can buy or not.
Yeah, and I won't haze you. Jeff will
Paul, you got my cell. I'll haze you. Call me.
All right, man. Well, you guys, again, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe, especially iTunes, YouTube. I need some help over there. Your boy does. I'd really appreciate it. If I can ever help any of you, call my cell, just like Jeff gives his cell. It's what working men do anymore, or working people. 239-910-5668. Thanks, everybody. Again, Jeff, thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
See you, bud.